months here, just because I'm not inside nearly as much. Starting right about now, it's 70 and 80 every day here in North Carolina, and I like to do a lot of stuff with my family. Trading's allowed me to do that. Okay, so after this week, we'll start having these every other week until we hit fall again, and then I'll go back to weekly. Okay. All right, so with that, folks, when we talked last, I told you that the market should continue to head higher, not necessarily every day. And anytime I say the market should head higher, I don't mean every day. That's impossible. But, we had a lot of indications. So if I bring up I'll bring up the spiders today. Let's see why. Maybe. Okay. So we hit new highs today or yesterday in the spiders. Some bullish candlesticks. Hackenacci had another phenomenal entry with the Laguerre and the Hackenacci both in agreement. If you got in at the open of the next bar, you got in at 349.30 roughly. It's at 407. But more importantly, what does that mean? Right? You've taken some profits. You can move your stops to protect yourself. But in reality, there's no reason to exit this trade yet, right? At least not in the entire trade. And that's really where this can help you because, it had this beautiful move down to that 50 period moving average, and it just doesn't get much better than that. Okay, it just doesn't get much better than that. Every time it hits that 50 period, it's been respecting it pretty darn well, right? But then Hackenacci does a great job telling you when to get back in, right? Right here, and right here. So nothing's perfect. That's not the intent of these webinars, but it gives you a high probability entry point when you have these phenomenal trends, right? So what are my expectations? I think over between now and in the month of April in general, I think we're going higher. I specifically like the next 2 to 3 weeks as a very favorite seasonal long play. And then I think we'll get somewhat of a pullback and then we'll go higher again. Okay, but yes, we're flirting with highs here, which, is not my favorite when we keep bumping a bunch of these highs here. That's why I did mention that the Qs I liked better myself for more room to the upside. We haven't hit highs yet on the Qs. I do think between now and the end of next week that will happen. Okay, I know that the news is making all kinds of excuses on here comes a pullback. At some point they'll be right? But that's what the news does. The news is always saying that. Retailer traders are still substantially short these markets. Okay, you can look at the Dow as well. Right, the IWM. We got some room to run on the Russell as well as the Dow. Okay, the Dow hit new highs 2 days ago. We do have some 2 o'clock FOMC news today. It may or may not mean anything. So when that happens here in about 55 minutes, we could get some potential volatility. Again, you won't notice it much on a day's candle, but more potentially on a smaller time frame. But I do believe that if the news produces a downward move, it's going to be short term. If it heads higher, then I think we're going much higher. Okay, because that's what seasonality is telling us, and that's what retailers are shorting. Okay, and we have a really good window of a higher move coming between now and the next 2 to 3 weeks. Okay, so if we do get lucky enough to get some sort of a pullback to a moving average you like, and then you get a new green Hackenacci, okay, that could be your entry point. Okay, so again, what do I really mean by all this? Bullish, bulls. I know, again, it's hard for some of you because you listen to the news and you hear all this bad stuff all the time. but the market does what it does. Some of the traders that I'll follow on YouTube as well, I'm human just like you. I like to get others' opinion. Most of them I use again as contrary indicators though. A lot of them keep saying that we're right about at the top here. I disagree. Okay. Not because I have, some crystal ball, but what I do have is I have a seasonal move saying we had higher. I've got some shorter term data mining that I use saying we should head higher. And we've got those retailer traders that are shorting the market. So that's the major takeaway I want to give you for this week is not every day, but I do believe between now and the next time we speak, the markets will be higher. Okay. Next week should be a very bullish week. Going late this week and the next week should be a very bullish week from a historical seasonal perspective. Okay. That's right. We do get pullbacks. Absolutely, John. Great point. And pullbacks are opportunities. If you're in a stock, for example, like Apple, right? Again, they don't go straight up, right? We wish they did. But Apple's starting this move now, but it doesn't mean every day will be an up day, right? But one thing I can tell you about Apple, between now and the end of April, I'd be pretty surprised if it doesn't retest this 138 level. Okay. I think it's going to make a nice move the next couple of weeks. You can see, stocks like Facebook, right? They're already at highs. Okay. You can look at Amazon. There it goes, right? So again, this is very predictable movement based off of high seasonal probabilities. And when you're looking at some of these monster stocks, some of these institutional stocks, they're very, very predictable because institutions are very predictable. Okay. Okay, so yes, I see some questions. Oh, I'll definitely get to those here in a little while. Absolutely. No worries there. So let me just kind of give you some other stuff. So when we talked about crude oil last week, it's been very interesting, right? And I want to show this for a couple of reasons. One, you can see we've been in total consolidation, right, on crude oil. And what I mentioned was when we get the trigger long, we kind of have we have a seasonal until the middle of April, then it kind of goes sideways. But we've been in this massive trend. Okay, so I still believe when we get a green Hockenacci with a Laguerre combined, okay, it hasn't happened yet, right? We kind of broke out right here on the Laguerre, but it still had a red Hockenacci. So when we get a Laguerre breakout with the green dot, I still think we're going to test those highs. Okay. Now with caution, retailers are long oil now. Okay, that's why it's going lower. Okay, again, when I say that, I'm simplifying it. That's not the only reason, right? You can also look at some of the fundamentals lately. I've got an oil expert that gives you some good information, and you can look at supply and demand. But uptrend back to the 50 period consolidation. More than likely, when we get those combined triggers, we'll head higher. Okay, but I do want to see change in sentiment. I do want to see retailers starting to go long. I'm sorry, starting to go short more so that then we can go long. So right now it's kind of just waiting on oil. Okay. So the dollar index, again, not very interested in trading it much right now. What I do like is we typically get in, right around now until mid-May, we get a long plan dollar. So once this Hockenacci and the Laguerre comes back down and gives us a new entry long, okay, that could give us an opportunity. What I really like though is the June short. Basically, you can see here from left to right. So, ideally what I'd like to see is this come down and then head back up like it normally does, maybe have a double top in the next 2 to 4 weeks, okay? And then look to short this, okay? So that's kind of my plan right now on that dollar index. Okay, Bitcoin. I had a couple emails this week on, oh, is this it? Is it crashing now, Dr. Keith? And I don't think so. Again, in a strong uptrend, you always get retracements, and all this is doing is consolidating. It's not even breaking through really the 20 period. So if and when this comes to that 50 period and then we get a trigger long, I'll be all over that. Okay. And of course, me personally, I'm not trading the futures Bitcoin. I like to trade certain Bitcoin stocks that we've talked about and so forth. But as just one example, right? Riot. I love trading Riot. Riot's going to head much higher here in the near future, in my opinion. Based off of just the overall supply and demand of these type of blockchain opportunities. And then you can see even from a seasonal perspective, we kind of top right around May. Then we kind of had lower, then higher. It's been actually following its seasonal pattern very, very well. Okay, so I do expect to test these highs, between now and middle of May before it heads a little bit lower. But you can see how the seasonal pattern has been followed pretty nicely at this point on Riot. Okay, so let's see. We talked about the dollar. We talked about the indexes. Let me bring up gold. And I told you I haven't been touching gold. Remember, the actual price has not been following the typical seasonal pattern. So when that happens, again, I get several emails of these a month on, but Dr. Keith, what are we going to do when seasonality doesn't work? Like with COVID last year, it wasn't working. Well, one, I disagree with that. It was working with the down move in February is a very predictable move, right? It happened this year as well on the markets. But it doesn't mean every stock is going to follow their pattern every year. And so when it doesn't, what do? You ignore it, or you go in much smaller size when you get triggers, right? So again, I just want to keep bringing these up. So this white dotted line is what should have happened on gold the last 12 weeks. Gold's been much weaker. So what do we do with gold? We ignore it right now. Okay, we ignore it. There's more risk. It's not following its pattern. Okay, there's some stocks and ETFs and futures and forex that are following their seasonal patterns beautifully. So when they are, then those are what we're looking for. Okay, and that's the key to having this lag, to knowing what the actual move should be happening. You can just compare it to the actual price. If it's matching, you're good to go with higher probability. Okay, so seasonality works year round. And when it's not working with a particular instrument, again, going back to the obvious example, I'll give a couple of them. USO, right? We talked about this several times now. Back during this up move, okay, at the time, and you don't see the lag line as far back now, it was pointing down. So again, oil at the time wasn't acting normal. You stay away from it, okay? You can look at something like Domino's Pizza this year. Okay, I went in a smaller position, but when you look back here, it wasn't following its seasonal pattern nearly as well. Okay, yes, now Domino's has made its rebound. A beautiful trigger here. But if you said, well, I didn't take this because it was much weaker than the seasonal pattern, I would say that was probably a good idea, because Domino's wasn't acting normal. Okay. When it is acting normal, then that's what we're looking for. Okay, that's what we're looking for. Okay, look at AMD. I love trading AMD from left to right. Normally it was going higher back the last 12 weeks, and it's been heading lower. So it doesn't mean I won't take a long on AMD here, folks. Okay, I love AMD, but what I'm going to look for is either half my size on the next trigger. Okay, so if the Laguerre comes back and then it comes back up, I'll look to take a long if I have higher lows. Okay, because then and by definition, you've bucked the downtrend. Okay, but I'll go in half size because AMD wasn't following its pattern quite as well as it should. Okay. Lean hogs, right? We've talked about this. I know I got a lean hog trader in here. We knew it should have headed higher. We got all this green, and look at it, it continues to hit new highs. Okay. So if you got in right here on March 8th, okay, you got in at 87.50, let's say. Was there a reason to exit this trade? Right, no red dot yet. Or you could have said, well, I would have exited right here when the Laguerre triggered. Okay, so then you'd be out right here. Fantastic trade, okay? So it was following its seasonal pattern. We take it, you have a higher probability to make money. Okay. Okay, so let's talk the VIX. So the VIX, you can see, has been heading down like it should, okay? And what that means is the market should continue higher, okay? The ADX is red lately, which what it means is this is actually a good thing for markets, okay? The ADX is just saying that we're not in a trending environment for this particular instrument, which is the VIX. But because it's the VIX, a non-trending environment, a kind of a consolidation will mean bullish prices, okay? So that's how I interpret with that. And we'll talk more about the ADX in a little bit here. I finally have it available to you all that want it. But anyway, so, you know, again, was doing exactly what the market should be doing. Okay, that's my overview for the day is the markets are doing exactly what they should be doing, okay? People can say, well, now we have vaccines out, people are getting better, you know, feeling better. You know, whatever your individual case is, there's always going to be news coming out. Okay, so you just got to look at the internals to really figure out what the market wants to do. Okay, because then the other side, you say, well, you have a new wave's coming out on COVID now, right? So now the market should go down. Okay, when you try to analyze that mentally and watch the news and look at articles, you're just going to get more and more confused by doing so. All right, so Tesla. Okay, so you can see here on Tesla back in February was forecasted to go down and then revert right around mid-March. Okay, so the new trigger was actually in this case 331. Okay, so now if you're long Tesla, you can kind of hold on to it. You're gonna have a nice ride up. No, not every day, but Tesla's going to continue higher, hit that 900 plus level here, certainly by the end of the year, if not sooner. Tesla can make an enormous move, you know, very, very fast, okay? But again, this move down was very predictable on Tesla, okay? Same with NVIDIA. NVIDIA has been following seasonal moves pretty nicely here. We have the trigger, and now you can kind of hold on at this point up to those new highs. If you're in NVIDIA, again, these are more expensive stocks. I know a lot of you will not trade them, or maybe you're trading the spread, which is always much cheaper, okay? Okay, let me take a look. There's a few that people are asking. So SNA, you're still holding on to this? Absolutely, I'd be still holding on to this. Interesting enough, you can see with Snap-on that you know, it's been respecting that 20 period, you know, very, very nicely. Going back to AMD because there was a specific question on AMD. And the question is, do I expect it to keep going up now? I mean, yeah, again, the risk is it's been weaker than the seasonal pattern, but we're getting into a really nice 2 to 3 week bullish period. So I believe most stocks, especially seasonal long stocks, are going to make some nice moves. You know, I also like AMD as a longer term play. So I could go in half size with like a September, October expiration. And then if it were to go against me and then go back up, I could add into my position. You know, again, I'm not doubling my position. I'm going in half at the initial opportunity. Okay, so there's a difference there. I never want to max and go over something that I'm not comfortable trading, because that'll be the trade you will lose, folks. Okay. Yeah, anything with Netflix, it doesn't really matter, you know, how far you go out, wherever there's the open interest. Okay, I mean, if you can afford a Netflix leap, you're going to be doing very, very well here in the near future. Year to two out, Netflix will continue its streaming dominance. It's got great seasonal moves. I mean, the data on this You know, I mean, just a little tidbit for you all. Let me grab my data mining sheet. Bear with me. I have a short-term Netflix trade coming up. Or no, it was Amazon. It was Amazon. Okay, it's not Netflix. I'll talk about Amazon in a minute. But yeah, so you know, Netflix will hit these new highs here pretty soon, and you know, it'll go higher up until summer, and then typically it kind of heads down a little bit before it goes higher. So absolutely, if you can afford Netflix, it's a great opportunity to get in right about now. The actual new trigger was, you know, right here on March 31st. Okay. Okay, so let me bring up Amazon just before I don't want to forget. So Amazon, folks, basically, it already started, you know, right here. We've been waiting, right? Interesting enough, if you got in on 4/15, so on April 15th, you know, over here a few days from now, and if you exited on April 25th, so it's basically 10 calendar days, okay? It's made an average of a 9% profit on that trade, okay? So pretty incredible opportunity of window here, okay? And, you know, really, Amazon's a good play anyway. You know, that's 21 out of 23 years. So 91% accuracy between 415 and 425, it basically heads higher for you. Okay. So if you're already in this, more importantly, absolutely, I'd be staying in it. You will probably hit new highs here, folks. Okay. Yeah, let me take a look at PFE. So Pfizer, you can see the white forecast was from left to right was coming up. Actual price was coming down. Okay. So based off of that, and we have sideways seasonality here coming up over the next few days, you know, few weeks, I would be skipping Pfizer right now. Okay. There's much better opportunities. So you see how quickly you can identify that just by looking at a chart, right? It doesn't mean it won't go higher. You can make a lot of money off it potentially, or it could go much lower, but there's no significant advantage right now that I see in either direction. Okay. SFL. So ship finance, you know, again, we typically had higher until middle of May. So I do like this play. You have to get a pullback though, you know, and it's a cheaper stock. You're getting a lot of wicks. So there's a little bit more risk involved here. But if we get lucky enough to get a pullback to that 50 and then you get a green Hakanachi or your next green Hakanachi dot, you can look to enter back into that. Yeah. Yeah. CDEV, let's take a look. Yeah, you know, this is one I talked about, Continental Resource Development, and I love this. You know, I definitely think it'll hit new highs soon. You know, it's been a beautiful uptrend, had the retracement, and now it's heading higher. Again, it doesn't mean every day is going to go higher, but yeah, I like this one a lot. I think you know, between now and more than likely during this bullish time coming up, you know, you'll do well on it. Yeah. All right, I'm just checking through the questions. Bill, I sent one out talking about like the trade of the month that I'll do. And sometimes I am delinquent on sending those out. I apologize. I put them on, what I do is I publish them on YouTube. And I think the ladies then publish them to all members, but let me actually double check on that to make sure that's happening. But I did do one that was called what was it, April or March-April trade or something. But I will check on that for sure to make sure that we're also pushing that out to everybody that has subscribed. Okay. Let's see what else. Riot. Yeah, BFB. Yeah, that's, you know, that's always a fun trade. Oops, maybe. You know, again, look at that beautiful play on Brown Fordman. Nice trigger here. And I suspect it'll do what it's been doing for years and years. Head higher, okay? Head higher. How many of you took this long right here? We'll see what happens, right? We'll see how it works out for you. We all know the odds, the extremely high probability odds on that, right? Yeah, no problem. But I also, though, again, I want to make sure that when I do a trade of the month and I post it on YouTube, that it also goes out to everybody via email as well. Okay. Oh, I love Costco. My wife was there yesterday. Let's see. Maybe. So again, very predictable move. Anytime you get pullbacks on Costco, right, you can then look to take those entries as even a longer term play. That was a great entry. But yeah, so what I'm looking for now though is, again, I do want to, if I'm not in this, which I'm not, what I'm looking for is that pullback and then get some green candles again for that next resumption. Okay. You kind of scrunch this up a little bit, right? The high is at 388. So you got room here. Problem with Costco, I think over the next 2 to 3 weeks, it will be pretty bullish. So your main way to getting in this, if you really want to get in, it might be on that 4 hour. Okay. Like you could have got back into it here 1 o'clock on Tuesday. Okay. We had a combo trigger long here on 1 o'clock last week. Okay. So don't forget about your smaller time frames on some of these great opportunities, especially when they're in a really, really strong trend, like Costco's been, or just wait. At some point, you will get a pullback because, again, look at the seasonal move. It's forever, right? It's forever. Okay. Let's see what else we got here. So one of the things I wanted to bring up is I've been getting a few questions on, so Mara is one of those blockchain I was telling you about, that, digital holdings. I exited this trade, had a beautiful trigger back here, and I'm just going to look to go back in, right? So now that we're getting a red candle today, if this can come back down and hit that 50 period, I'll go long again on Mara. I've been trading Mara more than Riot just because I've been doing, it's been both of them are favorites of mine, but that Mara I like a little bit better right now than Riot. And so I'm kind of looking at both of those. But yeah, those are good opportunities when you get those pullbacks for sure. Just don't go in too aggressive on those, in my opinion. Definitely. Another thing I'm looking at right now, LYV, you can see this nice, beautiful seasonal. We have the trigger. Okay. So again, when you're in the direction of the trend, the overall trend, those are great plays. My only hesitation right now is we're pretty close to highs, but more than likely it'll break through those highs here, in that near future. A couple others that I was eyeing, look at Overstock coming up, right? So, Overstock, it's not looking the greatest right now, but look at that. So when we get a next trigger long, you could do like a September expiration, and more than likely you'll like the results on that. Okay, so just some ideas, suggestions when you're looking for some of these, these really good opportunities. Okay. So what I wanted to do here is show you a few opportunities from short-term data mining. Okay, less than 20 days, because April's such a bullish month typically. I just wanted to give you some ideas you can jot down and keep an eye on and so forth. And these windows that I'm giving you, they can always go in early when you get triggers, a week or so early or 2 weeks early at times. But there's something you'll want to keep an eye on. So, we've talked about this before, even as a longer term, but pool. Okay. This is one where I didn't take this trigger right here. The ADX was red. Okay. And it doesn't mean I won't. So again, I do have this ready for you all that want this to purchase this. And again, the reason I like to use the ADX is just to show me graphically, if it's trending or not, if it's in a trending environment. Remember, the ADX does not pick direction, right? That's what you have your seasonal, you have your oscillator for, you have your Hockenacci, but it tells you whether it's trending or not. So back when I got this Laguerre, I'm like, well, I could have went long because for one reason, we know it typically will head higher, but I actually waited. And of course, so then it's making this move already. So my only way I'm going to probably get this right now is if I look at a 4-hour chart, okay, we're getting that sell trigger, which I always am not interested in. But on the next buy signal on the 4-hour, right, I can get in the pool, okay? But anyway, so this if you got in, on April 14th and you got out on May 5th, just these dates, folks, okay, you've made money 20 out of 25 years, 8% on average. So what does that tell you? It tells you, again, these type of triggers are usually money in the bank with high probabilities, okay? Again, nothing's guaranteed, but if you know something's headed higher that many years than those probabilities, right, that can certainly help you. I mean, 80% of the time, 20 out of 25 years, and then you wait for your trigger, then the percentage will be even higher. Because I'm just giving you key dates because that's how you mine. You have to have actual dates. But then if you wait for triggers, obviously you're going to be even more profitable. Okay. Okay. So let me look at some others that I'm kind of eyeing here on the shorter term data mining. So we talked about Amazon, the window between 414 and 427. Okay, it's a very bullish window. Right. So again, if you're in Amazon, I would absolutely be staying in this, knowing we got that bullish time coming up on Amazon. Okay. Let me grab some of the larger percentages of wins. So LKQ, beautiful seasonal on the 10-year. Notice the 5-year has been a little weaker, but this year it's certainly stronger. So I like it. Okay. But let me give you a little data on this particular one. If you go long yesterday and you exit on May 3rd, you've made money 16 out of 17 years, about 6%. Okay. So again, what that means is if you look at them ahead of time, right here, the Laguerre triggered. So on April 1, well, in this case, let's see, right here is the entry, which was 331. Okay. If you're in this trade, you have a really good seasonal move coming with high probabilities. Okay. High probabilities. And so you can even stay into the trade longer, wait for the next red dot. But going into this that you're not just guessing direction. You know what's been going on with high probabilities for many, many years. Again, for whatever reason, 16 out of the last 17 years, this has gone higher during that window. Okay. All right, bear with me. Another one is LYV. We talked about Live Nation Entertainment. Okay, so again, this thing's gone higher, this stock, 14 out of the last 15 years, 9% between 421 and 512. Okay, so if you're in it, stay in it. If you didn't take this trigger, you get a pullback. We know high probability move coming between mid-April to mid-May. Okay. That's how I look at things. I'm always looking at the highest statistical opportunities that match then our triggers. Okay. As long as the ADX is green and yellow, it's a go for me. If it's red, I either ignore it right now because of potential consolidation, or I go in half size, knowing I could be kind of chopped up a little bit. okay? But that's the advantage of having the ADX, in my opinion, especially, color wise. We all know I love my colors, and I can just go back and look and say, okay, if I took this trigger here, the ADX was yellow, it was meeting that criteria. You go back here, you got a trigger, it was yellow, I was meeting that criteria. It's easier to go back and check and so forth. And I think I showed you this, but the way I have my settings on that is if ADX is less than 15, it's red. Between 15 and 23, it's yellow. And then anything greater than 23, it's green, okay? And you can use it at any time frames, right? You can look at this and say, okay, I want to trade this on a 4-hour chart, right? That updates on the time frame that you are on, okay? Okay, let me look and see if there's any other goodies. Let me look at the biggest, largest profit percent. Okay, so this is an interesting one. Let's see. ALGN. So we have the trigger, and basically from April 23rd to May 20th, it usually heads higher about 10%. So it's a little early, okay? But again, that's a reason why if you were ahead here, you probably took this, if you have that data mining short term, knowing that more than likely it's going to head higher now and, big picture until May, middle of May at least. We also have the great seasonal move here, not really topping until July, right? So ALGN is a pretty good opportunity for you to make some money if you can afford it. Okay, if you can afford that one. Yeah, so if you look at something, I use it for all markets. So in fact, let me bring up talking about the ADX. Okay, Euro US dollar. Okay, I use it the same way. Okay, I use it the same way. Now again, let me be clear. It's not picking direction. Okay, what it's telling you is we're in potential consolidation. So on this Euro US dollar, when it turned red here, okay, this really isn't consolidation. Okay, it's not always like any indicator. It's not always going to be perfect, but it's telling you just be cautious that you could get caught in some chop. Okay, that's all that means, is you could get caught in some chop. I like to see trending environments, and those are by far my favorite. So that's kind of how I use it. But yeah, you can use it on, you can look at the Dow, for example, bring that over here. So we're back to yellow here, which is good. The indexes, you'll see, especially in the summer, you get a lot of red, because what happens a lot on indexes? They chop before they make their moves, right? But it's certainly very handy, especially at smaller time frames. So if you go to like a 1 hour or 15-minute chart, okay, then when it's yellow or green, you're good to make your your selections there, and so forth. So absolutely, ADX is something that I've always just like to know what's out there. It does not mean I won't take a trade if it is red, which is less than 15 or less on the ADX tile, or John. But I like to know that. I want it in front of me just so I understand that. Okay. NEO's another one. Look at that beautiful seasonal on the, again, it doesn't have 10 years of data yet, and we're red on the ADX here. So I'm just kind of holding fort right now. But I do think that NEO will make another nice move up here in the near future. So what am I waiting for? For the gear to come back in and get some new green Hackenacci and get a yellow, at least a yellow square down here on the ADX. And then that will be my entry on NEO. Okay, so again, same routine, same pattern. That's the key, having a plan. Okay. Well, let me give you another good short-term data mining. So Decker. I always forget about Decker. Okay, so Decker here has a window of opportunity between the 11th and the 25th to go higher 23 out of 27 years. Okay, so we have this little pocket coming up. And so again, if you were ahead of that, you could have just taken this one here and you'll be into the trade. Okay, I actually didn't take this because I don't look at the short term all the time. I would be, spending hours every day doing that. But I don't like to do it that close to highs. But more than likely, Decker over the next couple of weeks, you can keep an eye on your charts. We'll hit these new highs based on what it's done in the past. Okay. Okay, are there any questions on anything? So again, folks, really what I'm looking for over the next couple of weeks is bullish action, basically for the month of April, the rest of April. Crude, I would love to get a long play if and things align up. Right now, they're not aligning, and that's fine. We just stay away. But I do believe that, remember, we have 2 o'clock news coming out, but I do believe that we're going to continue its pattern up over the next 2 to 3 weeks with high probabilities, extremely high, crazy probabilities. And so if you're patient and you look at your signals with your individual stocks, with your futures, with your Forex, you'll be able to play that, really, really nicely. So with that, folks, so the next session, absolutely, Bill, will be on the 21st, 2 weeks from today. I'm going to start doing them 2 weeks out. In the fall, I'll go back to weekly. Okay, I'll go back to weekly. But if you ever have any questions, reach out to me. Other than that, folks, good luck. And I wish you all the best. Go Bulls. Thanks, John. Take care, everybody. Oh, one thing I was going to mention, if you were interested in that, I'm going to put it out when they send you the recording. If you want that ADX, I'll put the pre-purchase link on sale right now, right there. Okay. Again, it'll be going out as well with the recording today. All right. Thanks, guys and gals. Talk to you soon. Bye now.